Welcome, and thank you guys so incredibly much for joining me on another episode of Starseed Activations. Welcome. Let me just grab my microphone. Okay. I don't know why. It's like, wait, we need the microphone. I've just gotten so used to using it. There's chaos. No, if you guys can feel the chaos in the air or what the situation is, it's just crazy. Whatever. Anyway, it's wonderful. And if you guys on Facebook can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or like or just send a heart. This way I know that you guys are here and you can hear. Instagram, you guys should be able to hear. You're on the headphones. So wonderful. Welcome. Excellent. So today we are going to be ending at 6:15 very sharp. So anyone who has any questions, just throw them on in the chat box now. And we are going to just dive right in. So the energetic of today has been very kind of chaos, kind of like changing or shifting. Or maybe, for an example, you tried lining things up and then all of a sudden there was too much, like it just didn't work. It didn't fall through. And so, it's totally crazy. It's happening nonstop. And so, but it's happening with all sorts of people. So other people are noticing things that they had in alignment. And so those things are breaking down. They're not fully manifesting, which is fine. But the second that we start to see 2 or 3 things happening of that nature, so other people are going through it, we know we're having our own little chaos, that means it's time to just rest. And so just rest and repair and just allow whatever is to be. I wouldn't necessarily start to pull triggers on new projects specifically today because of the energetic that we're all going through. So 4444, I saw 3333 today on a license plate. And so it was, Heather, it's totally weird, totally. But it's amazing too, because you know what? It actually is giving us the opportunity to take a look at the reflections. And so what is a mirror reflection in the holographic simulation? So anytime we are seeing that, like for an example, if I'm having a hard time, or not even a hard time, if I'm noticing the chaos in my own life, and then I'm seeing it reflected into other people's lives, that's a mirror reflection. And so what the star people are saying is the solar energetic of today is giving us type of, it's not really static electricity, but it's movement. And so it's like chaos energetic is what the star people are saying. And so we're noticing this change and the shift. So if we're able to combat the energetic of today by just simply dropping into the heart and being at peace and sending love and light. And so when we go through and we start to do that, it transmutates the energetic immediately. Being jumpy too, that's another thing. So anytime you feel restless inside or you feel like anxiety or chaos energetic, right? It's just important to just take the deep breaths in, take the deep breaths out. If you can even get up and stretch. Now, many people, when they're going through their dark night of the soul, a lot of times they won't have the ability to do any type of exercise. And we hear this happening over and over again when people are like, oh, I just don't have the energy to exercise. So just give your body a gentle little stretch, because we don't realize. Now, we can position the hands in different ways, and this completes an electrical circuit. So electrical circuits, by moving and combining your hands. So now what happens if you touch your shoulders? Right? Now your hands are energetic projectors. So we do energy casting with our hands. So now what happens if you put your hands on the shoulders? What happens when you put your hands like this? You put your thumbs on your temples and you put the 4 fingers in between. You can even touch the nose. But you're connecting. It actually forms a toroidal field. It's actually a double toroidal field, they're saying. So it's like 2 toroidal fields, like a flower with 4 circles as one, combines all 4 of the hemispheres of the brain and sends a type of circular energetic grid, which then starts to combine and activate cohesion among the brain. So many times, if you've ever seen, and take a look at the micro expressions, have you ever seen someone do this? When they're angry or upset, they're touching the side of their head and this, and they may put their head down. That's a micro expression. And so the way that your energy radiates out the physical form, it has to be in the energetic grid first before it actually has an effect on your physical body. So whenever we are lacking energy, that means that we don't have the energy inside to move the physical body or to allow the energetic expression into our energetic grids, as well as the, he's calling it like a bio energetic availability. And so you're projecting your energy into the holographic simulation. So you have to balance your internal circumstances. Now there's many different things that you can do. When we start to do this process, we start to go in and we allow other people to touch us. Now, many times you take a look at people who are very traumatized. Those people who have become traumatized, many times we see them where they're like, don't touch me. I don't want anyone touching me. Those are also attachments names. So if you feel that way, I want each and every one of you guys to throw the attachment off. So tell it, I don't want you to touch me. Get off and go home. Just consider that that's the attachment name. I don't want you to touch me. And just tell it to get off of you and go home. And so when we start to treat all of our experiences like they're attachments, when they're in a negative frequency, the positive ones, they are more than welcome to stay on. Because when we're in a positive frequency, let's say, for an example, you're an artist and you have an attachment latch onto you every time you're drawing. Well, that attachment, it's getting fed off your excitement. And so whenever you're engaging in something positive, you're pulling in enough ether or life force energy and radiating it out, whereas both of you guys can be properly fed with that energy and there's no harm, no foul. So that's fine too. So a lot of times too, we like the positive attachments because they make us feel good, because they actually trigger us to do good things. So for example, just imagine if you're in a very, very high frequency. Now the high frequency ranges, most of the times people are very organized, very clean. I used to have my closet used to be color coordinated when I was a kid. And this is because you're very happy, positive, loving, caring, kind. If you've ever spoken to teenagers, so a lot of teenagers, when they're happy, right, they have a lot of things are put together and their happiness radiates out. So we always want to be aware, because whenever there's an entity or being in a negative polarity, the star people are saying, that's not the word I was going to use, but they corrected me. And so he's saying that they can also exist in a positive polarity. And this is specifically because we live in duality. And so when we have duality, we're going to see positive as well as negative beings. Now, many times people interact or work with the fairies or the fae. And so those are one such entity the star people are saying. So the fae can be positive. They can also be negative. It depends on the location coding of the actual fairy. So in Ireland, for an example, or Scotland, they have different fairy rings. And so, but they'll tell you, don't mess with that ring, because then the fairies will come and they'll mess with you. So, but that's over in Ireland. Now, here in the United States, we can very easily go into a forest and you have to actually activate your power of sight, which is real. And this is something that you should be focusing on during meditation if you so feel called to do so. So when you start to do that, your third eye will open, because while you're in the woods or while you're going next to like any type of nature, we have creeks by me. So this is a great time. We take a couple deep breaths in and we thank the fairies for coming. Now, the fairies can also feel your attunement. So you may have an energetic that is attuned into the fairy realm. The fairy realm is right here. It's encoded on top of Mother Earth. It's just at a different time, space, frequency range. So if you have the ability, which we all do, if you have the ability to change your time, space, frequency, now that's controlled by your emotions. When you're very happy, time is flies. When you're very sad, time seems to drag or go very slow. So now that we understand, okay, I have to be very happy and I have to think and breathe fairies, but they also like little gifts. So let's say, for an example, you put a fairy house outside, or let's say you leave them some crystals somewhere. You may start to notice things pop up like flowers. And so they love to give flowers because that's very easy for them to do. And not only that, but they can manifest the flower very, very rapidly. So you may put the fairy house down, and then the very next day, you notice a full-size flower right next to the fairy house, whereas you know it wasn't there before. That's because they have control over that time, space, frequency. So Just think for 1 second, because they're drawing my attention to Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Just for an example, I know it's a kid's story. Now, Tinkerbell, sprinkled stardust all over the place. What is stardust? It's ether. It's the energy that's all surrounding everything. And so the fairies have an ability to instantaneously manifest, and they go faster than the speed that's here on this earth. So if they need to will something or create something into their world, they're able to do it very, very rapidly. Yeah, you should tell your son to make your fairy house. I mean, I've seen some wonderful ones where they went and they hot glued sticks and did all sorts of things and put like one of those dollar store like LEDs in it. Wonderful with the solar panel. And then all of a sudden they have all these fairies that show up. Now, you can also have different things in the grass. And so this is important too, because when we start working with vortex energetics, it will allow the grass to actually grow thicker in a circle. And so if you ever see a patch of grass that is circular, well, you know automatically that there's a vortex under there, because why would that patch of grass grow in a giant circle? So many times it grows that way because that is the spot in which children dance barefooted. And so when they connect into Mother Earth and they dance and they celebrate and their hearts open, they're radiating this high frequency energetic, which then in turn it automatically starts the process of drawing a vortex energetic. And so you may notice patches in your grass in which the grass seems to grow extra thick, and it's always circular in nature. I've always seen it circular. So this is also something to be aware of, because it's not really spoken about in the mainstream. And it's something that seems very taboo until you become aware of the physics and the information about what the holographic simulation actually is. So is it when you see sparkles in the air? That's ether. Does that show the fairies are there? So the sparkles in the air is the ether. And so think about it this way, though, because those sparkles are directly connected into the solar energetic. Now, if you've ever gone to a tanning salon and you put the tanning goggles on, you're also in certain tanning beds, you're going to start to see some of the sparkles. And so that's how we know it's part of the solar energetic. But ether is directly connected into the solar energetics. This is why the sun gives us life. It's connected to the ether, because the ether is part of energy and it's part of no energy. So the way the star people explain this is like this. We have vortex energy and we have void. And so we have the source frequency, and then we have the void, which is no frequency. So we have the source of all the frequency, and then the frequency is very high, very rapid. You have all the angels and all the higher dimensional density beings up here, and then that vortex comes down. Then it slows down. This is where we are. We're in the physical reality. So the physical matter density to some items in this world is very slow, and that's the reason why the item looks solid. So it looks solid because the atoms and the molecules are under a slower frequency compared to that of a conscious sentient being. Now, we as humans, we know that we have a light body inside of us. That light body is directly connected into our higher self, which is still in 5 to 7D. And so it drops down, and we only receive a tiny little fragment of the actual soul form. This is how your soul is able to fractalize into many, many people during one expression. Star people are calling it. So now that we know that, we take it 1 degree further. So the physical world is kind of slow because we have items that look physical to us. We can't break it, right? It's physical, it's solid. Now, when we talk about the frequency, if we continue to go lower, then we have what's known as the underworld. So the underworld are actually where the attachments exist, and that's okay too. They're made of dark matter. This is what that whole CERN thing is about, and how they're trying to like open a rift into the dark matter and yada, 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 right? All that stuff, but we don't really have to worry about that, because the frequency that you hold inside of you, it actually lights up on certain technologies. And so the more love that you can shine, it puts you into a different parallel reality in which that CERN machine has nothing to do with you. You'll never see anything negative come out of that machine in your world. Now, when we say your world, we are directly speaking about the world that you see with your conscious eyes. We are not talking about the TV unless you engage with the TV. So they may put a CERN commercial, oh, the earth is ending, on the TV, but in my reality, just hypothetically, I don't watch TV, but just hypothetically, if I was to watch any TV, I just wouldn't see the commercial. So my consciousness would have zero knowledge of that happening in my reality. That's how the simulation works. We're all coexisting on this earth, but can we each agree that there are some things that I'm not privy to? So there are some experiences on this earth that I will never witness. It's just the same with you guys. There are some things that you're like, I had no idea. There are some tribes on this earth who are very, very half naked running around the woods. We'll never speak to these people. We won't even know that they're there. Now we're starting to become aware because of satellites. However, when we talk about your holographic reality, it is literally what you are seeing in your world and how that radiates out and how you are interacting with the information that you are personally downloading. So take, for an example, the Mandela effect. Now, the Mandela effect can show us how two separate individuals can have two completely different realities and yet still coexist in the now moment. And so those people who are in that tribe, in that nature, rainforest, half naked place, right? We can still coexist with them. So what does that mean? That means I could potentially get on a boat and I could put my binoculars and I could see them running around half naked and I could tell the guy driving the boat, don't go there. They're not for us. Right. And so we go somewhere else, but I could still see them. So now they're real in my existence. So take this for one, and that's exactly it, Paige. That's how you feel with the people around you. Now take this for an example. I've seen UFOs. And I knew for a solid 1,000,000% fact, I'm like, that's a UFO. And the people around me were like, no, it's not. And so it was like they had blinders on, and the blinders would not allow them to see the UFO. Now, why is this? It's because your personal belief systems are only going to allow you to see and perceive what is meant for you or in alignment for you. So the star people are calling it an attunement. Now, when we start to realize, oh, okay, so this person is seeing this, and that's so crazy, but let me stop what I'm doing and let me see from his perspective. So, how did you get to this perspective? What did you see or what did you witness or go through that made you change your mind and made you open your thinking or step or think outside the box, they're saying, which then in turn allowed you to manifest this type of knowledge. So each and every one of us, we know this because each and every one of us who's watching this, we've gone through this process to some degree because this is why we're on the spiritual path. See, most people who are on this planet, they do not think the same way as we do. And that's okay too. Now, the 100 monkey effect is how the human consciousness grid evolves the entire species. But what's actually happening is my frequency raises to such a degree, I download knowledge, and then that knowledge grounds into the holographic simulation or the human consciousness grids. Whichever perspective that you guys want to see it is perfectly fine. Now, my knowledge that I have, it grounds in. And so what that means is every time that there is a thought on this planet, that thought gets radiated by 3. And so we take a look at the light bulb. The light bulb on this planet was built by 2 people at the same time. There was a third person who got the download who decided to not build it. He had the bright idea in his mind. We don't know who that man is because he never built it, but there was 3 people. So then it reflects out like a ripple in a bucket of consciousness. So anytime multiple people are coming together, even if it's on a live feed, and we are all sharing the same wavelength or we're sharing all the same or similar thoughts at the same moment, it's to the 3rd degree that this thought or this live stream gets broadcast out into the collective consciousness grids. So when we start to know that every single thought that we have is of high value to us, our thoughts are so important that we really want to focus on our magnetism. So how happy and excited and joyful and blissful are you every single day? How much can you wake up and be like, okay, yes, maybe something is crummy. Maybe you don't like the way it seems in your world, but what are some things that you guys can do to say, like, it doesn't matter if there's chaos energy, I'm still going to have a rock star day. That's it. Today is the best day ever. Just make it your mantra. Even if something goes wrong, even if you have to go through something tough or something painful, it's okay too, because we all have been there and together we rise. And so this is now I'm starting to see, I've always seen on my Facebook page, when one person is going through a hard thing, the rest of the tribe swoops in and everyone is like, I love you. I bless you. You got this. You can do it, right? Make some moves. Here's what you do, right? This is what I did. So it's everyone is working together as a collective. And now this is the important, this is when all the fun starts, because when all the people start coming together as a collective, together we rise. Well, where are we rising to? We're going to be rising into 5D, which is the most amount of fun, because when we rise into 5D, it allows us to do things like instantaneous manifestation. And so if one person needs to eat, I have a kitchen that's filled with food. I will feed them. Right. And so, but that's the way we start to coexist. And then that person who ate, maybe he's a painter. Maybe he'll paint my room. Maybe he'll put my galaxy all over the entire house. I'll take it any day of the week. Right. But together, when we do together, then all of a sudden our entire world changes overnight. Now, when you look out at the world, we can see so much more, but we have to be the voice. We have to be the thought. We have to ground the idea into the physical world. When I see the world that I want to live in, I see pyramids all over the place. The pyramids make better weather, they reduce the chemicals, and they raise the Earth's frequency by generating vortex energetics. So that's one. I see pyramids all over. We can even call them meditation centers. That would be wonderful. We can call them greenhouses because the plants would grow 10 times the size. I'll totally get down on that. I will be there every single day. Talking until the entire world is full of magical people who know how to spontaneously manifest stuff. I will do this every day of my life until I see that fully manifest. Now, I also see our homes becoming pretty or beautiful, right? So, whereas we have this whole concept and this whole theme of starving artists, no, get the artists, pull them in, and let them start to build the homes that we live in. Why can't they paint it and make it like Alice in Wonderland? So anyone who has kids has a beautiful house and it's very artistic and creative, and you just makes you want to wake up in the morning. You're like, wow, I live here. Right. And so we do this. We go to places like Disneyland, and it's so that we can activate this childlike creativity and wonder. And oh my goodness, it's magical. Right. But why can't we live in a world like that? So the questions I had from the last live, they were all on the color spectrum of 5D. So talking about the color spectrum of 5D, it's all beautiful. It's wonderful. It's like a higher frequency of color, and it completely shifts the way that you think. Now, anyone who has had any type of psychedelic experiences, I personally have not. And so, but when they speak about it, they talk about colors and sacred geometry and being in a far off land that was very beautiful and color, like Alice in Wonderland. That's how I see it from listening to them. And so, when we talk about 5D, now the colors in 5D kind of look like that. They look, and I've been in 5D without any substances. I have existed there. And I dropped back down because I was meant to ground in the energy of 5D. And so, but while you're there, when you look at the trees outside and the air, everything feels like there's a sense of magic to everything. It just looks beautiful. Like the flowers smell extra fragrant. The grass beneath your feet, you could tell it's like warm and inviting. Like you feel like you just want to hang outside. And it's more outside of a feeling than inside, because every time I was outside, it was like the air outside changed. So that's how I describe it. Now, the star people have showed me different, I want to say meditation, but to be honest with you, I was not sitting down meditating. I was about to go into my closet and get some clothes. And my starman was like, let me show you what 5D feels like. What's the emotion code for grounding it into the physical world? And so what happened was it felt like my soul was like, and it pulled up, and it was up here somewhere, like way up there. And then all of a sudden it felt like joy, love, and bliss had just washed over my complete body. And then slowly they let me come back down into my body. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that was wonderful. That was like the best emotion that I have ever felt in my entire life. And I usually radiate love all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm funny. When I come into a room, we're going to have a good time. So to experience that, it was like, wow, that's what heaven feels like. Right? It's like you feel like you're home the second that you feel that emotion. But that was important because now that we understand what it feels like, how do we go about manifesting? We are told constantly to hold higher emotions. So when we choose our emotions that we choose to radiate, what that's doing is now you have to also cast the energy somewhere. So if you're choosing your emotion of love, joy, and bliss, you're radiating out of you, but then it tunes into your energetic grids and then it radiates out like that. You're not consciously projecting that emotion. And so the second you pick up an item, any item, it can even be your pet fish, it could be your child, it could be your car, anything that you want. And you are consciously placing love and attention. And I love and bless you, Crystal. I love and bless you, body, right? I do this with my people all the time. I love and bless you, body. Thank you for activating 5D frequencies inside of my physical form. And I do this all the time. And then you can even follow it up with some Qigong. So Qigong is feeling into your energetic grids. Now, when you put your hands together, you can feel the tingles. That's your chi energetic. So you can feel or you can sense your energy grid. Each and every one of us can do this. We've known this since we were kids. Kids normally practice and they do this naturally. So this is supposed to be something that we tune into, but children are kind of like this. They always go to the parents for confirmation. And so a lot of times the parents look at the child and they're like, oh, that's just your hand and your body heat. Right. And then the child casts it off and changes the belief pattern that the child holds. And then they grow up. And then all of a sudden you turn into an adult and you have completely shut down that childlike mind. Well, what happens if we change the communities that we're living in? So let's say, for an example, we do things like earth homes. I was just talking about earth homes with one of my friends. And so, but let's say we put together earth homes and they're all painted like Hobbit homes and they're super magical. And each one of them has like fresh food that's grown on the side because maybe you have your own greenhouse built into the earth home, right? Where all the water filtration system and everything works in harmony and balance with nature. It's not like we're doing here now. We're putting all of the dirty toilet water into either a hole in your backyard for it to sit there for a million years, or it's going into a sewer and it's getting regurgitated back into our drinking water. So what if we were able to take that waste and we were able to run it through the trees? And now all of a sudden the trees suck in all of those nutrition. And then at the end of the line, it's giving us clean, healthy water, but it's been filtrated by plants and organic living material, right? So our ecosystem, and this is very important, our ecosystem is a circle. We've been brainwashed to believe it's a triangle. Your Merkaba field is a triangle up and a triangle down. Both of these two counter rotate and form a circle. So there's a triangle inside of a circle. That is the way your energy grid is, and that's how it radiates, and that's how it radiates into the civilization. So now we have to be the change that we wish to see in the world. So what does that mean? That means, well, it's the same thing as energetic casting and manifestation. So we want to continue to talk about these things. Thank you, universe, for setting up a bunch of tiny home communities for spiritual people who want to come together and lead a whole revolution on this planet and change the way that we are living. Amen. Usa, usa, usa. And so now we wait because that energy, that manifestation that we all just spoke it, speak it out loud, guys, and just radiate it into your energetic grid and make the energy shift into the parallel reality in which that manifests for you. That's it. It's super simple. You don't have to build it. You just have to change your frequency and it will pop off somewhere in your holographic simulation. Make sense? Beautiful. Let me take a sip. Anybody have any questions? Well, I almost spilled this whole bottle on me. That would have been hilarious. Okay. Let me see now. Okay, let's do sounds and the color spectrum. So each and every sound that we're able to hear, it is a color because it's all a frequency wave. So you have your eyesight and your eyesight sees different colors, but we can pull the frequency of that color. So we know this because the frequency is actually tuning into different brainwave patternings. This goes right back to the tiny home community. This is the reason why we want our homes to be, and I like the rainbow. And so I feel like it's the rainbow warriors, which is an Indian prophecy for us light workers, star seeds. We are the rainbow warriors. That's another reason why I use the rainbow warrior image in the Star People group on Facebook. That's my group I run. So if you guys want to read my posts and stay in touch, that is there for you guys. And then we also have the Star People group messaging on Facebook Messenger. So this way you guys can keep in touch, we can communicate, and I can have a way to send out my downloads and my posts. I write a lot. Anyone who watches, you guys don't read, it's okay. So but the rainbow warriors, now it's so important that we embody the entire rainbow. And so it doesn't have any meaning but the meaning that we personally place on the colors. So when we start to see each and every one of the colors, and those colors are fully expressed in your entire world. So whether it be painting inside the home or even outside the home or even just accent decorations. Now think about, they're bringing my attention to young children, so toddlers. Those toddlers, every single toy that they get, it's all rainbow colored. And so we know it stimulates their growth. It stimulates their development. And why is this? It's because by seeing a frequency range of every single color, it's tuning into each one of the chakras in their energetic grids, and it's rebalancing the brainwave patternings, which is tuning into each and every different color chakra. So when we start to surround ourselves with different colors, for example, the Star People are saying, if you have an imbalance in your sacral chakra, the sacral is orange, then you want to fill your room with orange, because seeing that orange is going to reflect into that chakra subsystem, which then in turn is going to start the process of manifesting it back into alignment. And so maybe your entire room is orange, maybe all your stuff is orange, and then all of a sudden you have too much. It's like an orange, an overabundance of energetic in the sacral chakra is what the Star People are saying. They corrected me. And so that's okay too, because when we start to feel that, then all of a sudden you want to take some of the orange out of your room and like, let's lighten the room up a little bit. And so this is the reason why we're actually, and I never used to do this. Never. But the Star People have been encouraging me now to change the color spectrum in my room every couple of months. They said this was manifest on your planet through the concept of seasons. And so we have February. You're supposed to have pink everywhere. Now we're in March. We're supposed to put green. In Easter, it's pastel, right? And so, but we're supposed to be changing the colors in the home environment because this is where our energetics are. Different colors radiate throughout the seasons as well. And so think about April. April is a start of a cycle. It's supposed to be like a new year. It's a new earthly year because we are seeing the plants grow. And so that growth brings new colors. It brings new pop. We're not doing meditation. We're not staying indoors anymore. The sun is different. Everything is changing. The weather is better. So it's allowing us to go out into nature and see different colors than we've seen during the winter. So this is why the colors are very important, because just imagine for 1 second, during the winter months, many of us see white. And so that white is wonderful because it's like a winter wonderland. But then what happens during spring? Now, many people start the process of reproduction and all these things happen during the spring. And this is normal. And this is happening because not only the solar energetics, but because the color spectrum that we see is different. So when you're seeing white walls constantly, it brings you into that hibernation. It's not healthy. Now, a lot of people during the winter too, you're not getting enough of the solar energetics. So it has a potential to really drag your frequency down. We need the sun. The sun actually provides different vitamins and minerals, not minerals. The Star People are saying vitamins. And so those vitamins keep us very healthy. Now, there's also known effects of the sun, your vitamin D levels, as well as your pain receptors. So we're going through the solar energetic system, which is raising in its frequency. And so that frequency has an effect on our biological form to the degree in which it reduces our pain. It's increasing our intellect. And so you're going to start to see more and more people who are talking very, very rapidly when they start to raise their frequency, because this is a natural process of how telepathy becomes activated. You see people having conversations now I've seen this before, where I had someone who was just like me and they knew a lot of my information, and we got into a conversation, and the conversation was so fast, the people sitting around us, they were like, all we heard was, and then that was it. That's how telepathy is formed, though, because when the species has two people who are speaking so fast, because it's a very high frequency, all of a sudden the brain waves goes, we can't keep up with the mouth, that's too slow, so we're just going to direct connect the information to one another. And then it's not just the sentence that gets directed, but what the star people have shown me, which is absolutely amazing, I can't even believe it, but it's like they can take an entire concept, like, say for an example, my room. This is where I am. So they'll show me your room, your bed, your chair, your this, your that, and then they'll show me a moment of time of me doing something in the room. But all of that information, from the room to the wall to the house to the chair to the this to the that, all of the information is instantaneously downloaded, like you are in a holographic simulation. You just saw the whole thing at once. And you have full access to the entire memory from start to finish instantaneously. So to me, I was like, oh my God, because it's like that picture, that video. Just imagine a 5-minute video, and that entire video just got downloaded into your hard drive instantaneously, and you seen and perceived and digested the entire thing instantly. That's what it feels like to have telepathy fully activated. And so their conversations are so fast. It's like, bam, here it is. Right. And they give you a whole storyline. Like, it's a whole 5-minute video, but it's even longer than that. And then their intellect is, they're seeing in the future. So they're seeing, we have the potential to see 3 degrees into the future. So if I said this in the conversation, they have these 3 options that they could say. For each one of these options, I have 3 responses. So that's 3 degrees into the future. So I've also experienced that, where it was like my brain was going so rapidly that I knew what you were going to say before you were going to say it. And I had already digested the responses to, so the regular communication just became too slow. So that's what we are looking at. That's what humanity is going to evolve into, like the entire species as a whole. Now, when we start to experience things like that, we were also in a very high solar energetic year, as well as I was taking monoatomic gold, and I had little toddlers. So the kids have very bright aura fields, and they had me walking barefoot all over the place in the summertime, chasing after them in the backyard. So you can just imagine that the frequency in me was at a very grounded, holistic, eating healthy frequency. Everything was Gucci back then. Like, we were perfect. It was happy. And so then we go through these cycles, right? So we go through a high cycle, and then we go back down, because we are meant to go, we see the highs and then we dive into the lows to release all the density. And then it slingshots us a little bit higher than the last time. So our consciousness is constantly doing this. Right? But we are meant to dive into the low stuff to release the energetics, because the more we release, the more the attachments you kick off of you, the more density you clear out of your energy grids, the more you handle your emotions. And then the thoughts is always there, right? When we start to handle all of these different aspects of us, then, and our behavior patterns, because the behavior patterns the star people are saying is an indication of what attachments or densities that each individual is currently running or holding. So when we start to dive in, we start to go through all these things, then all of a sudden it allows us to finally come into knowledge of what our true capability finally is. Beautiful. So right now, I do unfortunately have to end the live. I know it's on fire, but I do have a session coming up in like 3 minutes. So thank you guys so incredibly much for showing up. And okay. So really, really quick. We're doing, this last week is the last week for March to have any sessions. just for the month of March. We'll be back April. And so I am going on a healing modality, which is going to take approximately 2 weeks. So if anyone wants to do a session, we should really do it this coming week. And so this is March. The energy of March is definitely an energetic of let's release and let's receive, because we're looking at new beginnings in April as well as March. And so you guys can feel the energy is totally shifted in March. But even today, we've noticed all this chaos energy. So that's, we're meant to release it. So anyone who wants to get down and do an attachment release or really dive into a healing session, please just get in touch with me right away. This way, because my schedule is very full already, but I'm trying to squeeze everyone in the last moment. So yeah, wonderful. In April, there are some new things coming to us. So I am going to be putting together a 6-week class on attachments. This topic is like, the people want it. You guys want to know about it. And it's not very easy to digest in a 2-hour setting. It's just a whole lot of information. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to break it down to a 6-week class. This way you guys will get a video, or you can watch the video. I could talk about it. And then we could do an open group chat. And so that open group chat is, we can talk about any questions, we can comment on them, or we can even do 2 videos. It all really depends, but I'm putting it together and it's in the works for April. So this is great because I've been I've been helping and assisting. That's the star people are correcting me again. Thank you. But I've been helping and assisting people who are like Reiki healers, people who really want to, they take this knowledge and they help broadcast it out into the world. And then they take it and they help multiple people. So anyone who's on that wavelength, who wants to come and learn, this way it will help them to help their clients and their people and all the people who surround them. Please get in touch. My website, www.daniellelipton.com. Thank you guys for showing, and many, many love and blessings. You all have a wonderful